All right, we are live.
So you want to say a prayer again, some of us?
So say a prayer and then someone share a spiritual thought again.
I can say a prayer. Dearly Father, thank you for this nice morning and that we've been able to come together as a group and discuss our case and to learn more from each other and gain greater understanding. And thank you for the technology that allows us to do this. And please be with us during our discussion that it can go the way that Thou would have it. In the name of Christ, amen.
Amen. I have a thought. I don't know how spiritual it'll be. It's about missionary work and just reading this case and talking about networking and kind of talking with people and things like that. I was meeting with our hype councilman for our ward here in Rexburg, and we were talking about missionary work in Elders Quorum and how to, I guess, build it, how to be more successful. And he brought up a quote from Joseph Smith, which said, "Success is in the invite." And I think a lot of times when we do missionary work, if they don't get baptized, then it was wasted and it wasn't successful. It wasn't a good missionary moment or whatever. But the success is just in the invitation, talking with people and getting to know them, and then inviting them to learn more or to keep commitments, things like that. And so whether it's with business or with church or anything, you can have success just with inviting and just trying to be better networkers. So I don't know how spiritual that was, but hopefully it'll suffice.
That's awesome.
This is Benton. He's going to join us for a little bit. Say hi. No.
So first question says, so far we have learned to evaluate business models for startups. Today we will examine the business model decision of a startup in a mature industry. As a group, begin discussing the following questions. See industry attractive for A16Z to enter in 2009? Like favor the new entrants in this industry. Why was this so? And what were the trends in the VC fund performance during this time? And I remember, like in the case, it was saying very attractive because there's like group investing was kind of becoming a thing, and people were moving away from the VC industry. So they were wondering if that was the way to go, was group investing other than what people had normally done. So that time it was.
Yeah, I kind of wrote the same thing because I talked about the number of companies were down by about half from the early 2000s. So yeah, it didn't seem like it was as popular to do a new startup.
And also, I feel like it mentioned how the top 5 firms, like out of all the venture capital firms, the most profitable are those that brought in substantial revenue were just the top 5. And so I feel like the typical fate of a new entrant in the industry would be, I guess, a struggle their whole time until, so he talked about how the venture capital firms struggle to pass on like the company to their kids, or like other investors like to replace them just because they have so much assets, things like that. And so I feel like when the top firms are debunked, then the lower firms have the opportunity to replace them. But I feel like entering into it, it could be kind of rough to get started, to establish yourself, and to get those opportunities to invest. I know it mentioned that there's a lot of money for not a lot of startups or something along those lines. So it's just hard to get it established and to grow it right away.
There's tough. So also, what were the trends in VC fund performance during this time?
So I thought they had a pretty unique outlook. I know that was their goal when they started, to be different than other VC firms, just because they wanted to take the model of some other company, the one that did with like movies and Broadways and singers and like that. They just wanted to be so diversified and well networked that they would be a more popular choice for startups to choose, because they play that supportive role better, not just give them money and expect a return in 2 years type of thing. They're there to support them and to help them grow, and to offer, I guess, their experience and guidance to really grow successfully.
Mm-hmm. Also, along with that, the way that the other companies would normally, I guess, structure themselves was they would have kind of like a reverse pyramid. Reverse pyramid. They'd have a bunch of experienced guys, and they have very few new guys coming in. That's the way they structured their company. That was structure for it, and then these guys came in and needed like a more of a pyramid structure. They had them at the top, and they had a bunch of newer, less experienced people down below.
They also talked a lot about working as a team, where I think some of the other firms were in competition with themselves, it sounded like. I think that was a different take.
Yeah, they definitely were their companies, because throughout the whole thing it talked about how their main goal was to help companies succeed, new startups. And normally they said what would happen is someone would come in from another company or whatever, or another, it said like they'd be late, and then they wouldn't pay very much attention, and it'd be pretty hard to get someone to invest in you. Normally people would know for sure that things were going to work out. Like they'd have to be pretty sure. These guys though, they knew like some of the bigger companies like Google, places like that. There was a lot of uncertainties when they were first starting out, but they had a lot of potential. And so that's what they looked for, is the potential, and not necessarily there was uncertainty. So they would invest in people more often. They actually helped them, like you were saying, the big companies that could use their service. They did a lot of little things to actually help a company to succeed. Investments succeed. what do you guys think, with the second question, it says, with all the entrenched incumbents in Catch-22, what silver lining did A16Z see? And how did they plan to succeed in this difficult environment?
So I'm not sure the Catch-22s. I can't think of. Well, I guess unless it's talking about succeeding in difficult environment to grow. I mean, when they talked about doubling their assets, so I guess you can't get more money unless you invest more money, type of thing. And so maybe that's would be a Catch-22 kind of in that industry that they would be under. And what silver lining did I see? I'm not sure. That's a tough question. Does he succeed in this difficult?
I would say the silver lining is what we were just talking about. Like, they saw like groups operated, and they saw that they could actually help companies succeed, and they could just be better and more helpful than other groups. And I think they saw that as their opportunity. And so when they came in, they did a lot of different things to help startups succeed. I think that's the silver lining.
Okay, so it's asking what the A16Z, like what they do, like their silver lining as a company to potential businesses, like what sets them apart. I gotcha. Yeah, and I agree that that's what their pros are.
Why is a 16Z specifically targeted first-time technical co-founder? Why is a 16Z specifically targeted first-time technical co-founders? I don't understand the question. Oh,
well, they decided to stick with just one sector instead of, because a lot of the VC companies did just startups in general, and A16Z decided just to do technical companies. I think that's the question, is why did they target one? And I think it was just a new take, just to keep them focused on the area they wanted.
And I think it's experience. So before the two joined up together, I mean, they both worked in that same industry, in the IT industry, for other companies, and were on board. So I feel like they're probably just most familiar with it and are confident and can see good ideas and innovative businesses to be able to have that success, and give that valuable information to the startups to help them grow, because they've been there before. So I could see that being a big reason why they just stay with that industry.
Yeah, it also kept them local. They were already in that area, and all the companies that they were partnering with were in that area. They weren't across the country or anything. They were all in California. So I think that cut some of the costs down too.
For sure. And I think it's probably one of the most growing industries. I mean, with the internet coming out and things like that, IT is huge. I mean, even still today, like looking in projections and things like that, this year, IT is supposed to be one of the highest growing industries in the market. And so I think it's just, they saw most growth there, most potential.
How has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry?
I think tech startups cost a lot, because they need more money up front. before they actually prove themselves. And I think that goes back to why there's the top 5. They have the most money to give to a company.
Look at the past cases we've studied on Dropbox. All of them have, like you said, Sarah, they've required a ton of money. Like, that's the reason that Cake failed. The reason that succeeded is because they were able to get like Y Combinator to invest in them. And so I think a big positive impact for the industry, because at the first of this case, it was saying that they were kind of, that industry was kind of slowing down a little bit. And I think the start tech companies strengthened it and kept it going.
I don't really have any other different opinions on how it impacted them.
Do these trends apply to other sectors such as life sciences or clean techs?
I think it would. I mean, I know it talked a little bit about them going to the biotech or the clean tech or whatever. And I know, like, just from reading about it or watching movies on Elon Musk and his endeavors to, I guess, progress, I guess, the kind of clean energy type thing, renewable resources. And I think that's probably even more expensive. And so VCs have a hard time wanting to invest in them just because it takes so long for them to prove, I guess, their product and the market. And their product is so expensive that it's only available to a certain few. And so it's just, they just have a hard time putting up that much money and having to wait for the return on it.
I don't think it would apply to clean tech for the reasons you already said. I think the stuff, I think that would be really successful, because the reason, like, stuff with the internet, like Google, all of the technology startups, like, they're so successful because internet, that's like how we function. And so there's always new businesses starting up. They all have new ideas. And that's kind of the same with like anything science related. There's all the different, like the Zika virus, there's all sorts of different viruses that people are getting. There's all sorts of stuff like that. And there's a need for companies to find vaccines and stuff like that. In those two categories, there's a lot of potential. Okay. What choices do technical founders have for financing that they didn't have a decade before?
I think you mentioned that earlier, the crowdfunding. There's more angel investors. I think those are the two that have really popped up that they didn't have the choice of. I think the crowdfunding's really grown.
Just that website, Kickstarter, like, you go on there and you hear a lot nowadays about companies that's where they got their funding, was from those Kickstarters, and then they're able to create their product And then in here, it said incubators or incubators. Do you know what are classified as incubators? Like what does that mean? Do either of you know?
Google search it
I
out.
don't.
I just know I just looked it up because I knew there was something that I can't remember, but it just says angel groups, incubators, and crowdfunding were becoming increasingly popular.
Yeah, and they talked about super angels. So there must be groups of angels getting together so they can donate more money than just one-on-one.
And talked about the Angel List, which is an online platform. So people would go on there saying, okay, I want to invest in something, and people could apply for their money, which I thought was pretty a cool idea, because I know that's a big struggle for startups, is to find someone that's willing to invest. But if there's a website that you can go on and apply for it and kind of give your pitch to them, I feel like that helps create a better chance of landing that startup fund.
Yeah.
Need to source, pick and win. How does A16Z's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms?
So I think one of the big things was they were willing to keep their what they called. So when a founder starts his company, they're willing to keep him in the CEO position. Unlike the other VCs, when he was starting his own company, went to get money, they're like, okay, when are you going to get a new CEO, like in transition? But these guys are willing to help grow the founders into a CEO instead of just kick them out and find someone that already has the skills and abilities to run a full-blown company.
Yeah, I think the other thing that they were focused on was customer relations, because even when they turned someone down, they wanted to make sure they had a good experience and that they would recommend to other people to come to A16Z and ask for money. They did that survey asking if they would refer other people. So they were conscious of how they treated even the ones that they didn't partner with.
Like I mentioned before, they had a very active approach, actually helping the people, like the startup companies, succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they told the story of when they met with bigger companies like Coca-Cola, bigger companies that were in need of different, and they were able to like fill them in on what startup companies they were looking to start up, and they were able to hook them up with Coca-Cola and help them succeed that way. They also did stuff with the government like that. Anything that they would fill in government people on what new technological advances there were and what could help them there with the government, so they succeed there in that area.
And then the second part, do you think it'll increase or decrease or have no effect on the potential deals compared to the competition? I think it has a great effect to be able to increase potential deals in the future, just because, I mean, they gain a reputation in that industry, like, oh, these guys are good, they help, they're fair, kind of thing. And so people, like you said, even though if they don't accept them, they still had a good taste in their mouth when they left to recommend other companies to apply and try to do it. I think it definitely has a a positive effect for the future, doing it different than the traditional VC firms.
I agree.
Change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well. Increase or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to the competition.
I could see it going either way. I mean, if they start firing CEOs, then they're just going to be like the other firms. And so, I mean, it might not have effect on them just because that was just kind of like a bonus for the startups to be able to go to them instead of others because of that bonus. But if they don't offer that, or if they just start firing them and doing their own thing, then they're just like any other one. So people still probably go to them just because they still have other advantages over other firms.
Yeah, it might decrease the trust or the relationships a little bit, but I think in the long run, like you said, it's just the cost of business.
I was talking about this, or what it was really even talking about, but it mentioned something about offering like classes and stuff like that. CEOs talking about. That could be an option. I don't know. Do you guys remember that part?
I want to say yeah, but I remember reading something about classes, but I don't remember who would go. Was it like a 2-week class or something like that?
Yeah, as you said, they offered classes. I think it might have been to like the people starting up the businesses, though. They would offer classes for them to succeed.
It would make sense. I mean, when you have a plan to keep a CEO, you'd want to do everything you can to make them stronger and better.
And I think when you do that, it kind of just gives the CEO, obviously, he wants the company to succeed more just because he started it. But if you come and hire an experienced CEO, I mean, he might be good. He understands the things that it takes to be successful, but he doesn't probably have that drive as the founder would. That would kind of be all in and be willing to do whatever to see it succeed, while another CEO might just give up if it gets hard or not as successful as he was hoping it to be.
If they were trying to do everything they could to keep the CEOs before they fired them, then I don't think it would. I don't think either way, I don't know if it would affect the number of deals they get, because even if they did fire them, they go to like a lot more length to actually help companies, which is kind of what's attractive about them. So
Yeah.
how does the operating team help A16Z source pick win? Increase the odds of getting more quality deal flow. So why?
That was another confusing part to me. So you have I think they call them the GPs. I don't remember what it stands for. The general partners, right? And that was a big thing that they were trying to decide on, whether they want to increase the numbers of their operating team, or if it's going to be like it's going to spread them too thin and they're not going to be able to focus on the deals that they already have or whatever. So I think that's not even a question. Does increase the odds of getting more high quality? I think it's a fine balance, just because they already are different than the traditional pyramid or the upside down pyramid or whatever. And so if you add more to your team, you have the chance of I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, no,
Just when you get more people, it's not as close knit, or it's not, you just can't, I guess, micromanage as good, and you have to rely on other people to do their job to be successful. And so it could get tougher the bigger company that you are, more team members.
So pretty much just like, because they have more people actually they're bringing more people in, so they're able to go through more startup companies, which gives them a higher finding someone who's successful.
So when I was reading that part, I understood that the operating team was partly the people that were going to teach these startups how to be better. Like they were going to be advisors, and I don't know if I was totally off base or not, but kind of like those classes you were talking about, those people were included in that. So I think that having those specialists on your team, they can see potential in these startups that other companies might not have. And so they'd be able to see the potential, and so know if startups have, are going to be a good bet or not.
Have you guys been able to hear me this whole time?
No, we just see your mouth moving and just nod our head when we talk. No, we can hear you.
Is my microphone on?
It just went off and came back on, but it was on before that.
Okay, cool. That's good. I was going to say that's embarrassing. Anyways, continue.
So yeah, I think from what I understood, I think they hired some different types of people to be on their operating team than some of the other VC firms. So I think that's how they were able to, get a little different view on who the winners were going to be.
So does that have an impact on the odds of those startup companies succeeding? Other companies?
Yeah, I think so, because they have the resources they need to help them succeed. Because A16Z wasn't just going to give them money; they were going to help teach them. I think anytime that you have, extra help, you're going to do better. It's more of a partnership.
Guess it never hurts to have more resources at your fingertips to turn to.
Yeah.
In the shoes of Andreessen, you must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Here are the following and one general partner reasonably support. Are there economics of scale in this business? Hire more operating team people. If so, will the partners actually all the additional profits go to hire more people?
So I guess my initial thought, I know they mentioned that they haven't been around long enough to have the data they need to, I guess, prove to companies to go with them to like receive their funding. And so I don't think it'd be a bad idea to maybe stick with the IT industry for a few more years to get that recognition and kind of reputation, and then maybe branch out to other industries and try to double their assets like they're doing. Maybe go to Chicago, New York, like they're talking about. But I think right now it'd be better for them to just sit tight and wait another year or two to get more experience.
I was kind of thinking the same way because yeah, they'd only been around for like 4 years, and something that I read said it took 10 years to actually prove returns. So yeah, my initial thought was to stay the course for now.
Into the discussion, I was actually thinking it wouldn't be a bad idea to expand really on the expand into other areas of startups, like I was talking the clean tech and other stuff, but I was thinking more of geographically. But actually, I think I've actually changed my mind. And a big thing with that is that last question, actually, because if they expand, they're going to have to hire more people, most likely. And a lot of the money might go into just, because they already have a lot of people they've hired.
Yeah, and I think one of their really big assets is because they are so focused. They're focused on an area and on a sector, and I think that's worked really well for them. And expanding, if they did move to different cities, it'd have a whole new learning curve on top of having to hire new people. It's not just as simple as taking what they already have and duplicating it, because every city has a different, different niche. So,
with that first question, what do you guys think about that? How many portfolio companies can one general partner support?
I have no idea. I know they said, I think they have like 6 general partners and they had 50 companies. Does those numbers sound right? I feel like that's what I read.
yeah, I thought I saw somewhere that it was 10, but then I couldn't find it again.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think if they did, so maybe the first couple steps to expanding and wanting to double it, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to, kind of like you were saying, Braden, to go change geographically first and not necessarily with the mindset to grow, like to get more portfolios, but just to get out there so they'll start being recognized in more places than just San Francisco, but not try to get more clients or whatever, just stick with the same amount, but just be in a different location. And like you said, Sarah, it is going to take a learning curve to get used to the area and to know kind of the niche market or whatever. But I think that would be a better starting spot than just having the mindset, okay, now we're going to double like all of a sudden and opening all these places. That might be too much. But just starting off slow and just opening areas, but not necessarily trying to get more clients at the same time.
Yeah, I actually like that. Because where they are for time being, just grow a little bit more. You said just slowly start expanding, like moving up to Seattle or something, somewhere up there. I don't know. I guess not necessarily. I'm sure they probably all around the United States, right? Things around the United States.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know they were really emphasized in the Silicon Valley. But I mean, I don't see why with IT companies being web-based that they couldn't, like why they would have to be there in California. I don't know if they're or not.
Yeah, when I did the pre-discussion answer, my initial thought was that it would be cheaper if they're going to expand to a different sector rather than a different area. Just because they can still keep their base where they're at. I think they have, they could grow that way, and the cost might not be as much.
That's actually what I was just barely thinking, that if they actually move to a different geographical location, they have to hire more people to go there. Whereas if they're just going into other sectors, stay where they're at and just accommodate those people too, those startups.
Yeah, I think they could do that more slower than they could. They could take their time doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
I honestly just think they should stay where they're at, like you guys said.
I think that's the unanimous decision.
Yeah.
The next year, 2 years. Cool. So did you guys already do your 9 questions or whatever individually again, or are we going to do that as a group?
Yeah, I haven't written all mine up yet.
Okay.
Cool. How do you guys want to divide it up?
Let's see.
How many questions are on the prep?
The prep had just a couple. Let's see, one. I think there were 4. And then they had that bonus that talked about, the Excel stuff. Trying to figure out the numbers.
So if somebody wants to do the prep assignment questions, someone else can take questions.
Some of the prep questions do go over the same stuff that we were talking about.
The case analysis. If someone wants to go for like questions 1 through 4, 1 through 5, someone else can do 6 through 9.
I'd be good with doing 1 through 5.
Okay, so do that. I'll do. If you guys want to send me your questions, I can all just put them in one thing and send it in. And send it to you guys as well.
What do you want me to do?
So you do, well, actually, you take your pick. Do you want to do questions 6 through 9, or do you want to do the prep assignment questions?
Do we even have to do the prep assignment questions? Like, I've never formally written those and submitted them.
Yeah, and I think a couple of them, when I was reading them over, a couple of them just duplicate the other questions.
This it says, ask yourself, what do I need to know about the situation? Include the questions your instructor assigned, but go well beyond by looking at helpful questions. So pretty much it asks you to answer those questions, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not 100% sure you even need to include them, but I've always just included them.
Oh, in the writing? Okay, I gotcha. So then maybe we could just do those 9 questions broken up 3 ways, and then whoever gets 4, just maybe whoever gets 4, they just do 4 and 5 or something. So it's not as long.
We could absolutely do that. I found that it'd be good if they only had 2 questions, because I found that assignment questions is a lot more time consuming questions, so that's why I had other people doing more. The times the prep questions cover number 6, because number 6 is to perform a calculation or whatever, and like that bonus question has you.
So then maybe one of us do 1, 2, 3, 5. One of us do 4, 6, and the other one do 7, 8, 9.
So which page are you guys looking at real quick? Sorry, I'm just signing on here.
The case analysis study guide. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same questions you guys are.
Hi. Wait.
So just the general 9 questions? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
So what?
Writing.
So, Sarah, would you rather do 4 and 6, or would you rather do 7?
Sorry, I missed that.
You're screaming.
So I was just saying, would you rather take questions 4 and 6, or would you rather take 7, 8, and 9?
I'll do 7, 8, and 9.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right, and just send them to you? Freedom. All right.
So wait, where are we sending them?
So do you have my email?
I think it was a group email that Sarah sent out a while back, but let me get it real quick.
Okay. I think that little group conversation is still open, so I can just type it in there.
Yeah, that'll work. Just do that. Fine. And then you'll put it into one document and send it out?
Yeah. What is your email?
So mine's AB Will.
Yours again, Sarah?
I'll give you guys my Gmail.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, I'll get that done here in a little bit and send it to you.
Great. Back to you, Rooster.
Will you send us the link for the video?
You're welcome.
Sweet.
All right. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.